Wolf Hoffmann from the band Accept, M3 Music Festival. Welcome to the Music Universe. How are you, sir?
Thank you. I'm fine. Fantastic. We just arrived a little while ago.
Yeah.
So just soaking it all in.
What are you most excited about playing tonight?
Just getting out there and doing it like we always do. I mean, every show is different, so I'm not really sure what. I mean, we've played here before, so I kind of have an idea how it's going to be. But, every show is slightly different, so you never quite know how the vibe is going to be and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But it's going to be fun, I'm sure.
Sure. Coming from Germany, and actually I'm going over for the first time later this summer, what were some of your inspirations growing up in rock and music?
Well, I remember when we were I started in this band when I was a teenager, and back then we were all looking up to our big idols who were mostly coming from Britain. I mean, It was Deep Purple, Status Quo, it was Queen, and later on, of course, Black Sabbath, and Judas Priest, and all these sort of British rock and metal bands. And we just had a big dream of maybe one day going to a different country and maybe one day making a living playing music. And, we just had no idea how to get there. But we sort of, over the years, slowly but surely got there in the end.
Well, you're here and you've been here for years. When you look back to you being a teenager and starting out in this band, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a journey. I've been doing this for almost 50 years now.
Wow.
Next year is going to be our 50 years, for me, it's going to be the 50-year anniversary in this band, and I'm the last surviving guy from the original lineup from all the way 1976.
Sure.
And it's an ever-changing landscape, and the music business, as you know, has changed dramatically, even from a few years ago. Now with all the digital, downloads and everything changes all the time.
Yeah.
But one thing that never changes is the live performance aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So if I think back to our first shows all these years ago, it's kind of a similar thing still. I mean, you go out there, you've got a guitar, you make some noise, you play your songs, the audience reacts. You can't really replace that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it hasn't been replaced yet, thank goodness.
No.
Until they
AI cannot replace live music. It can start to take up the studio.
Me, until they come up with an avatar. And then,
Well, ABBA's already doing that, but we won't get into that.
Well, we're not there yet.
So any plans for the 50th anniversary for next year?
Yeah, big plans, but I'm not going to talk about it because it's going to happen next year. So
okay.
It's
A little bit
secrets. Nice try.
Any plans in the work for new music? Anything coming up?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we've made, ever since we regrouped 15, 16 years ago with Mark Tonillo, we've made 6 albums, I believe, 6 studio albums, and certainly there's going to be another one. I can't really say we're recording yet, but it's definitely in the works.
Very cool, and good marker at that 50 year. Speaking of Mark, for our listeners who may not be familiar, what's the story on how you found him as the lead vocalist and how he came to you guys?
Yeah, I've told that story so many times. It's funny. It just happened by coincidence, by chance, really. I was basically retired from the music business because I had enough, and our old singer Udo was doing his own thing. He had no interest in ever working with us again. He made it perfectly clear there's no chance. And then we had a jam session, and somebody invited this guy Mark Tonillo, who I was vaguely familiar with because he was in this band TT Quick, and I kind of heard of him. But anyhow, he was available for a jam session, and we started jamming, and we found oh my God, there's a man who could maybe be the key to opening another chapter of Accept. And we kind of decided very spontaneously then and there, 16 years ago, to give it a try and see what happens if we do the almost unthinkable thing of changing a lead singer. But we did, and it worked, and it's wonderful.
It's really good, and 16 years is quite longevity for somebody to come in and take over a mantle like that.
It's been a more stable setup now than it's ever been in the 80s. Yes, and it's normal. I guess bands change, just like companies and everybody, members come and go, and it's kind of a normal thing.
Well, the analogy is what Journey had to do,
right.
with Perry's, and it's not an uncommon thing, but it's great that it's been working out for you.
And I'm just personally happy to still be doing this, what I love, and tonight's no exception. I go out there, I do it because I love it, not because I really have to. Nobody's forcing me to do this.
Yeah.
guess then it doesn't seem like work. You know, if you enjoy what you're doing, and quite honestly, it's the fans who keep me motivated, or us motivated,
Sure.
because it's a privilege to do, you know, to make records, and people value what you do. They bring you the album covers to sign, and
Yeah.
they mean something to them. There's not many things in life that have that, you know. I was away from the music business for quite some time, and I realized, you know, having another job. I was a photographer for a while, which was creative and it was fun.
How'd you get into that? That's really
I've
cool.
always been interested in photography, and I was actually a professional photographer for over 10 years, and it was fun, like I said.
Yeah.
But it's not, it doesn't have the same meaning, you know, it doesn't have the same depth as music. There's
Yeah.
something very, very valuable and very special about writing songs and creating something that seemingly lasts forever.
Well, this M3 is really special because David Lee Roth is taking the stage right after you for
And
the.
I'm hopefully get to meet him, because I would tell him that the last time I played on the same stage with him was 1984 at Monsters of Rock,
Really?
when in England, when they did, I think it was their last original performance in the original lineup.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were on that bill. Accept was there, Motley Crue was there, you know, AC/DC was there, everybody was there that day.
Is it? I'm noticing, because I've done a couple of these last couple of years. Is it fair to say that your corner of hard rock, heavy metal, all the kitchen sink of that rock genre, kind of, I won't want to say close knit, but a close community where you are kind of running into each other at different gigs and stuff quite frequently?
Not as close as you think.
Right.
I mean, you always think we're writing each other postcards and love letters, and we're sending each other emails. Hey man, how's it going? It's not really. It's like, you know, you see each other in the hallway, or like in the dressing room. You chat for a moment, but then you don't see each other for 2 years, and then it's somewhere else in France or in Finland or in God knows where, and then you run into each other again. And, hey, how's it going? Same thing, you know. But so you never really get a chance to get really tight.
Yeah. No, that's really cool, and it's just really cool. You know, that you were there for the last show, the original lineup, and now he hasn't performed. I don't know if you knew this. He hasn't performed in 5 years.
Yeah, I heard.
So this is I guess you could say, comeback, and you're a part of that. So it's really cool. 2 historical things, except he's been kind of past.
I guess at this point we're all dinosaurs.
Oh, stop. No, that's the thing. You know, you open this by saying, you know, 50 years, almost 50 years next year, 50 years in the game.
I mean, if you would have told me that when I was starting all this, I could have never imagined still be doing this. I always thought one day you got to get a real job and you got to stop all this nonsense. You know, back then it was all about having long hair and shocking the parents and, you know, having a bit of fun. But nobody thought this is actually going to turn into a lifelong career.
Well, it has, and I know I've seen some shirts already out there, and I've seen people stopping Mark. He was out in the crowd earlier, and he was trying to get somewhere, and he was just mobbed. And I'm sure you'd be mobbed too if you went out there. We cannot wait for the set tonight. Thank you, Mark. This was fun.
Yeah, man. Awesome. My pleasure.